Welcome into the Fourth and Long podcast with your host, Alec Pecado, on Friday, November the 1st. We are officially in November. Today's podcast is going to be on my way too early bold predictions for the college football offseason 2024, as well as talk previewing Ohio State, Penn State, and the game I will be calling tonight, solo, South Florida and Florida Atlantic, as well as talking about Sam Pittman and Billy Napier if they have bought themselves another season as head coach of the respective schools they are at, and score predictions for the USF FAU game and Ohio State Penn State game. But let's get started with my bold predictions for the off season. And my first bold prediction is that there will be two Big Ten coaches that get fired this year in the offseason. The first one being of note being James Franklin at Penn State. I think Penn State's going to realize after they lose to Ohio State this year that James Franklin isn't the man for the job anymore, and he will get fired from Penn State, and they will hire a new head coach. And the second head coach of the Big Ten that will get fired this year in the offseason, as one of my bold predictions, is Ryan Walters at Purdue. Purdue has been atrocious this year, and I don't see Ryan Walters getting another surviving the offseason. I see him getting fired and them hiring a new head coach. My second bold prediction for the offseason, way too early bold prediction for the offseason, is UCF fires Gus Malzahn. And UCF, if you haven't seen, they've already lost a few guys to the transfer portal, and they've lost, I think it's 5 or 6 guys so far to the transfer portal, and I expect them to lose more. So, therefore, I think Gus Malzahn has seen his better days, and he will be gone as head coach at UCF. Next, I think there's at least my third way too early bold prediction for the offseason is I think there's at least 3 assistant coaches that will get head coaching opportunities. Number 1, look at Jim Knowles at Ohio State. I know people want to dog on him for how the defense has played the last couple games, but I think if he really wants to, he could get a head coaching opportunity somewhere. I don't know where, because there's going to be a lot of head coaches that get canned in the offseason. And he's the first assistant that I think might get a head coaching job. The second one, and I talked about this with my co-host, which he will return November 19th. And it is Rob Easel, offensive coordinator, South Alabama. I think Rob Easel might be the second assistant that gets a head coaching job somewhere. He has had a very good tenure so far at South Alabama as the offensive coordinator. One week they put up the most points in the history of college football, scoring 89 points. And that's never been seen or done since before my time. So I think he is option number 2 to get a head coaching opportunity. And number 3 is Tim Banks, defensive coordinator at Tennessee. I think if somebody gives him the bag, that he will take that coaching job and run with it wherever it may be. And we see Tim Banks as a head coach. Number 4. Bold prediction for the offseason. Way too early bold prediction for the offseason is I think Ohio State, with Tavion St. Clair coming in, is going to lose one of the following. They're either going to lose Aaron Noland or Devin Brown. I think either Aaron Noland or Devin Brown will transfer. I know Devin Brown has said that he is loyal to Ohio State. But when other school, look at Kyle McCord. He wanted to stay at Ohio State, but the fan base ran him off. I think it's the same thing here with Devin Brown because you got Tavion St. Clair coming in. And I think once Will Howard leaves, your starting quarterback for at least 1 year is going to be Julian Sayin. And then after he leaves, it's probably going to be Tavion St. Clair or Leakin Keenholz. So that leaves Aaron Noland out of this discussion. And by that time, Devin Brown will have already graduated. So therefore, I believe that Aaron Noland or Devin Brown is going to transfer in the offseason. And then my last bold prediction for way too early bold prediction for the offseason is that Mac Brown retires. And there's a backstory to this. Mac Brown offered his resignation after North Carolina lost to James Madison earlier in the season, but the players at North Carolina convinced Mac Brown to not retire and to stay at North Carolina as the head coach. Which for me shows that they still believe in Mac Brown, but I think Mac Brown he won't get fired. I think he retires. And it's the same way at Utah with Kyle Whittingham and at a couple other schools. Like Oklahoma State with Mike Gundy. I don't think Oklahoma State fires Mike Gundy. I think he retires. But now we get to my preview of Ohio State and Penn State. And we are going to pull up we get a schedule. We're going to pull up Ohio State, Penn State, and see if we can get we probably need to go scores. We are doing something here. I'm trying to figure out the preview. Ba, 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 ba. Is there no way to see the... Okay, we might have to do this a different way. Bear with me. We are having issues here. CBS Sports. Bear with me. I'm trying to get us the preview for... Bear with me. No. We need college football. Scores. We need... State, Penn State. Here we go. I think we got it now, ladies and gentlemen. Do we? Maybe. Hold it back. We're struggling here. Give me a minute. We will get it figured out. We're just gonna have to do this the old-fashioned way. So Ohio State, Penn State played last year, and Ohio State ended up winning. But this year they're playing in Happy Valley. I think it's going to be a close game, but Ohio State's offense isn't the problem for me. Not their skill position. The problem with Ohio State's offense for me is the offensive line. They're down to their third string left tackle. Zen Mahalski's out. Josh Simmons is out for the season. And to be honest with you, I'm kind of glad that Mahalski's out because he struggled mightily against Nebraska. He gave up. He let Nebraska ate him alive. Now, the question is, who's going to fill in for Mr. Mahalski on that offensive line? I'm assuming they're going to go with maybe George Fitzpatrick, but I don't really know. But that worries me, is who's going to play on the left side of the offensive line. The left guard for Ohio State is pretty good. Center's good. The other, they have a new right guard. Donovan Jackson's at right tackle. I'm fine with that. Personally, what I would do is I would ask Donovan Jackson, for the purposes of the Penn State game, to slide over to the left side and play left tackle and put somebody else, maybe George Fitzpatrick, maybe a freshman offensive lineman at right tackle, because I'm scared of Penn State's pass rush. They scare me. Abdul Carter and friends might put a lot of pressure on Will Howard and might not give him enough time to throw. I'll get into my keys to success for Ohio State to win here in a second. But look at Penn State. I give them all the credit in the world. I mean, they are undefeated, even though they really haven't. This is their first big test of the season against Ohio State. And Andy Kotelnicki, the offensive coordinator, has done a really good job. And I wouldn't be surprised in the offseason if Kotelnicki gets looked at for a potential head coaching job. And Penn State's offense has been electrifying this year. And I can see Penn State and Ohio State putting up a lot of points and defense being kind of optional until the second half. And then in the second half, the defense is both showing up and we get a low scoring second half. I'm going to give you a bet to take on this game. I would take over whatever the first half total is. Because, like I said, I think there's going to be a lot of scoring. You will hear my score prediction for the Ohio State Penn State game in a little while. But now here's my 4 keys to victory for Ohio State to beat Penn State. Number 1, limit penalties and stupid stuff. The only way you're going to beat Penn State is if you don't take dumb pre-snap penalties or post-snap penalties. Be smart. If Penn State's trying to coax you into taking a penalty, don't do it. Walk away and be smart. Don't be dumb. That's key number 1. Key number 2, limit turnovers. If you can win the turnover battle, which Ohio State's defense is showing they have a knack for getting to the quarterback. JTT, Jack Sawyer, Jackson, Caden Curry, the linebacking group, Denzel Burke, Jermaine Matthews, who needs to be playing a lot more. Because don't get me wrong, I like Denzel Burke, but there's times where Denzel Burke really struggles. And if they're going to beat Penn State, the defense needs to... Key number 3 for Ohio State to beat Penn State. The defense needs to play its best game of the season. If the defense can play its best game of the season, I think that Ohio State beats Penn State. And it won't even be close. And my final key is Will Howard needs to play turnover-free football. If he plays turnover-free football, Ohio State will beat Penn State tomorrow at noon. If he doesn't play turnover-free football, it's not going to be it's not going to be a pretty game for Ohio State. And they're going to have to win with turnovers on defense and limiting the number of penalties they get. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is preview South Florida and Florida Atlantic, which I will be on the call for tonight on my YouTube. I was supposed to be calling it with Bradley, but he will not be able to make the game tonight. So I will be calling it alone, but he's going to try to listen into the stream tonight. But I'm going to do my preview of the South Florida Atlantic game, as well as you get the preview now. But at 6 o'clock tonight, 6 to probably 6:45, I will be over on my TikTok giving you a full pregame preview of the South Florida Atlantic football game. And my TikTok is Alec Pecado. But USF FAU played last year. FAU won. And I would say what was a good game, but I think if USF is to win, and I'll give you my keys to a USF victory here in a minute. USF did win their last game before the bye week. They beat UAB. And, I mean, Bryce Archie played a pretty good game. Hint, hint, that might be one of my keys here in a second, is for Bryce Archie to play a good game. But I think that this game is going to be particularly closer than people might think. Now, I'm going to give you my keys to victory for USF to beat FAU. Number one, Bryce Archie has to play a clean game. No turnovers, no fumbles. No fumbles, no interceptions. And he has to make quick decisions, because I have watched film on FAU and they do get pressure occasionally on the quarterback. And we've seen throughout this year that USF does struggle. The quarterbacks do struggle against FAU when FAU does get pressure. It's usually a 3 or 4 man rush for FAU's defensive line on the quarterback. And I think if Bryce Archie can limit the turnovers, whether it be interceptions or fumbles, I think USF, I'm giving you 3 keys. That's key number 1 for a USF win. Key number 2, defensively, no chunk plays. And a chunk play is a play of over 10 yards. They need to limit chunk plays. You can give up 1 or 2 chunk plays per drive. That's it. If you give up more, then it's probably going to be a long night at the office for USF's defense. And number 3, get the run game going early for USF. Run the ball and run it a lot. Wear down that defense for FAU. Because if you do that later in the game, what you could do is you could go over the top on the defense with a deep ball to either Michael Brown-Stevens, Keyshawn Singleton, or Naquan Wright. And sprinkle in a couple trick plays. Next, I'm going to talk about have Sam Pittman and Billy Napier save their job for one more season. And I'm going to start with Sam Pittman. I think if Arkansas wins maybe 2 or 3 of its last 4 games, that Sam Pittman will most likely have a job in Fayetteville, Arkansas next year as the Arkansas head coach. And you saw how low in the preseason I was on Arkansas. I did not have them doing... I had them doing pretty bad. I had them going like 2-10, 3-9. I guess I'm off with their prediction. And of course, you can't get everything right, but I think that Sam Pittman might, even if he only wins 2 of the last 4 games, he's probably safe for 1 more year. And then we get to Billy Napier in Gainesville. I think if Florida could somehow go 2-2, Billy Napier still has a job at University of Florida and their football program next year as the head coach. This week they've got Georgia. Then they got Texas. Then they've got Ole Miss and Florida State. I think they lose to Georgia. I think they will get steamrolled by Texas. But then I think Ole Miss is a winnable game. And Florida State is a very winnable game. Look at how Florida State's done this year. Florida State has been awful. So I think if Florida can go 2-2, Billy Napier still has a job as the Florida Gators head coach next season. And now here are my score predictions for the South Florida FAU game and the Ohio State Penn State game. First, we're going to go Ohio State Penn State. I think Ohio State's going to end up winning this game 42-35. with a last-second game-winning touchdown by Will Howard. And then the game I'm calling tonight, South Florida and Florida Atlantic. I think Florida Atlantic's going to keep it closer than people think. But I think USF ends up winning the game 35-21 or 42-35. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to this YouTube channel. Turn on notifications so you don't miss a future upload. And again, little programming note. 6 o'clock tonight over on my TikTok. I will have a pregame Q&A talking about USF FAU game. And you can ask me any questions you want on college football, NFL, NBA, NHL over on my TikTok at 6 o'clock. And then at 7:30 over here on the YouTube side of it, I will be doing my play-by-play for the South Florida Atlantic football game. I hope to see everyone tonight at 6 o'clock on my TikTok and 7:30 over here on YouTube. Have a wonderful Friday. I'm out. Peace.